Yay. Well, welcome to Positive Solutions for Families. This is session one. We will be meeting weekly for about an hour, and we are going to kind of start from the very beginning. And I'll start with introducing myself. I'm Karen Anthony. I'm the early childhood mental health consultant at Oakland Schools. And I've been there for over 10 years. I've been a therapist for, going on 25 years now. So I've worked only with young children and families. And so this is kind of my passion, and my love is working with parents. So I'm excited that you're here for these 6 weeks. And my partner is Christine. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Christine Hodge. I'm the Associate Coordinator of the Great Start Collaborative here in Oakland County. And I also, I was a preschool teacher for 20 plus years, a long time. So I'm very familiar with early childhood and the world of early childhood. And I've also facilitated these groups, probably 3 or 4 years, the last 3 or 4 years. Karen and I worked together a little bit, and we're super excited to try this virtually with everybody this time. We're hopeful that this is something that we'll be able to, pass on for others to be able to do with other groups in the future. And so we thank you for being a part of this, very much so.
Yes.
And I'm going to mute myself for a few minutes so that no interruptions happen, because Karen's going to talk for a little bit.
So for the next 6 weeks, we're going to meet for about an hour. We're going to try our best to keep it to an hour, and hopefully not more than that. I know this first week might be a little bit more, we're going to try and keep it as best as we can. And we know that there may be interruptions on your end. And maybe interruptions are on our end too. But we know that you're at home, you're with kids, that, whether your kids are taking a nap and you thought they were completely asleep and now they're not, do whatever you need to do. Take care of your families. That's most important. So if you need to step away, no big deal. We were going to be meeting, like I said, for 6 weeks, and our goal, or what we hope to be able to get across to you, is thinking really about ideas for helping your children feel safe and loved and special and confident and competent. This is really based on building really good, strong relationships, and the idea is that as we move along, we hope that we'll also give you ideas for helping children learn how to develop relationships with adults, but also with their peers. We'll talk a lot about following directions, and we'll talk a lot about children helping them manage their own emotions. So as we move forward, I think what you'll see is that we're going to really have a lot to do in the next 6 weeks. So hopefully you all have your workbook, and we're going to be using the pieces in that workbook to use during these sessions, and then also to give you some what we call homework to work on during the week, so that you can kind of practice some of the things that we talk about. So these are the 6 sessions, as you can see. The first one is talking about how do we really connect with our kids. The second one is making it happen, so really making that whole thing of why that connection is so important, and now we're going to make some other pieces happen there. Will hopefully help you to understand a little bit more about understanding children and why they do the things that they do. Christine and I both have a strong background in child development, so we can kind of help you understand what's typically developing kiddos and what's things that are a little different. We're going to help you figure out teaching kids what to do, but we're going to hopefully help teaching you what to do. And then the sessions 5 and 6 kind of get down to a little bit more intense kinds of things when you're doing all the right things and you're doing them consistently and it's still not working. So we'll kind of go into more detail on those pieces as we move forward. So as we move with this, I really think that we need to think about today. So again, just thinking about today. What are we going to do today? I want you to all feel free that if you have questions that you can ask. Don't think that you have to stop us. If so, as we're going through the materials, think about asking questions. You can throw them in the chat. You could raise your hand. You could just interrupt us. We're okay with that because we kind of welcome this idea of conversation. We also welcome the idea that parents need to talk to other parents. So that's an important piece of you hearing from each other. We're going to talk about some ground rules to start with. We're going to go through the pieces of the importance of really building positive relationships, which this is going to take a little work. So I'm kind of setting that out there to say this is not like something that we're going to give you a magic wand and it's going to get all better. It's going to take some work. But there is a lot of power in using positives with your kids. And so that's what today's session is really about.
So we do want to get to know you all a little bit. So if you, I'm going to call out everybody's name as I see them on my screen. And if you can give us your name, how many children you have, their names and their ages. If you don't want to share your child's name, that's fine. We would like to know ages just so we know. And so you know other people, oh, you have a 3-year-old too. What's going on with this? It kind of helps a little bit to start that conversation. And then if you have any goals related to this, like I want my boys to listen to me, if there's something like that that you would like to have, that would be great. So I agree, as Karen said too, please interrupt us and ask questions. This is, the more that you ask, the better that it is. So if you're willing to go ahead and give us your name, I'm just going to yell it out. And if you don't want to, that's okay. I mean, this is the group for you as well. So it's really up to you. So I'm just going on my screen. So Eli, can you introduce yourself for us, please?
Eli, I have 2 daughters. One is 6 and one is 4. Birthdays are St. Patrick's Day and New Year's Eve. I guess the main goal for me is just really just getting information, because I've never been a parent before. So I know that I got a bunch of different, roles that I'm gonna have to travel, with raising the 2 girls. And so I just want to kind of like get as much information as possible to help me like navigate through this whole journey as being a parent.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic. Andrew.
Hello, Andrew. I have 2 children, a boy 2 years old and a daughter who will be 5 next Thursday. One of our goals is really trying to approach difficult situations without having it be an difficult situation, and not having to take it to a very high level of anger and more on my child's side than our side, in order to resolve conflicts and as well have our kids be happy and have a good time, especially as the weather is changing and they're not going to be able to run around outside as much and maybe cooped up more in the home, and more ideas for them to have more positive experiences and being cooped up inside over the next few months.
Super. Yeah, we can absolutely hopefully help with that. So Courtney, you're next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I have a 4-year-old. She just turned 4 2 weeks ago, and a 11-month-old who is currently just running amok with Cheerios on the ground. I was trying to eat lunch, and then she put her hand in it and got pizza sauce all over. It's been great. So I am looking for, like, my daughter, she's 4 and she's very emotionally aware. And I feel like sometimes she plays me, and I want to know how to respond to her without just letting her cry forever, because I don't think that's super helpful. I'll be like, I hear that you're crying. It's fine that you're crying. And then she'll just like keep escalating. And I'm just sitting there like quietly, not engaging, but it just escalates. It goes on for a while. So that is something I'm interested, especially with the weather changing. I hear you. I'm like so nervous about the weather changing. And then she's too young really to be disciplined, but to, learn how to approach it better from the start, I guess.
Yeah.
Of disciplining would be nice. Start right.
Right. That's the good thing about positive solutions, is that it's really not so much, it's just starting from a really positive place. And it's not really about the discipline as much as it's about how do you get to see the behaviors you want to see more? And how do you not maybe eliminate the behaviors you don't want to see, but lessen the behaviors you don't want to see? So hopefully Courtney will be able to help with that. Millie, I'm going to have you introduce yourself too, since you're going to be helping us out a little bit, as you know, if anyone has any problems technologically or getting anything, you're going to be their contact. So
I am Millie Wright. I'm the project assistant, or one of them, in early childhood at Oakland Schools. And as Christine said, I will be helping them with any issues. And if there's any questions that you have, please feel free to reach out.
oh, yay. Deborah just put herself on the screen. You don't have to. I don't want to, no one has no pressure. Go ahead and do what you want to. But now I just saw a face, so I want to say that. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deborah Richards, and I actually only put my 2-year-old son, Christopher, on the registration, but I also have an almost 8-year-old daughter and a 5.5-year-old son. My 2-year-old is actually enrolled. He received services through the Huron Valley School District. He had some brain trauma when he was a newborn. So we've been working a lot with physical and occupational therapy with him. And so my goal for this course for him, it seems like everything that I've done for my first two doesn't really apply to him, or applies to him in different ways. And so I'm hoping to just learn as much as I can and, you know, take some new tools to try to help him. And then for the other two, they have very big emotions. My daughter especially, I think, has some anxiety. And so, you know, again, just learning different ways to try to connect with them and help them, and just be there for them.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us. Hopefully we'll be able to support you a little bit in that.
Thank you.
Stephanie, you're next up if you're willing to say hello.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I have 3 kiddos. I have a 7-year-old son, a 5-year-old daughter, and then my youngest is almost 2. He'll be 2 in November. And I'm just hoping to get more parenting tools to keep in my parenting toolbox. I think you can never have enough advice and tools and ways to be the best parent you can be, and raise the best kiddos you can raise.
I completely agree with that you can never have enough. Karen and I still will ask people, we have adult children, and you'll hear a lot about our adult children over the next 6 weeks, and we will still say to each other, I don't know what to do about this. Yeah, there's not enough tools in the world, but we're going to do our best. So I'm not quite sure how to pronounce your name, but I'm going to go with Sissy or Sisi. Last name Zhu.
Hi, Cici is fine.
Sisi, perfect.
Hi, my name is Cici. I have 2 sons. The older one is William. He's 2.5-year-old. And the younger one is Patrick. He is 11 months old. I think my goal for this course is just to learn more parenting skills from you guys.
Super. Thanks.
Thanks.
Christina? I think you were getting some static from you, Christina. Maybe if you want to see if you can put something in the chat, we'll see if we can, anything you'd like us to say, we can have either Millie or Karen, if you guys can help me out and monitor that a little bit, that would be great. And then Riti.
Hi, my name is Riti, and I have one child. She's 1 year old. And basically, just kind of like everybody else, my goal is to just have more tools and just to be more aware as a parent. I'm a first-time parent, so.
Yeah, great. Well, super. Thank you so much for sharing with us a little bit. We're glad that we've met everybody, and we'd like to generate a few ground rules for participating in this session, just so that everybody feels comfortable sharing. we do kind of get a little bit into personal space a little bit. So we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with that, because if we don't really know, we want to know what's going on. We want you to ask questions and be able to answer. So in order to make sure that everyone feels comfortable, we'd like to set up a few little ground rules. So we'd like to start on time as close as we can to that 1 o'clock time period. But if you can't arrive right away, that's one of the reasons why Millie's here to help us. Is if you come in a little bit late, we will absolutely add you in. Just always remember that we are going to be recording. So if you come in a little bit late, that's just something to keep in mind. I have in here, I kept put your cell phones on vibrate, but I just kept it because I wanted to make sure that people were like attending to what we were talking about, but we 100% understand that there will be interruptions. As Karen said earlier, you might hear my dog barking in a little bit. You might see my 24-year-old walking behind me. So we expect there to be interruptions. We are fine with that, and we completely understand, especially in our new world that we have going on. We'd like to create a safe space for everyone to share their thoughts, ideas, and experiences. So this is kind of a safe zone. It's not like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but kind of close. we're a group, and we're gonna just honor everyone's thoughts here. We'd love to make sure that everyone has a chance to share as much as you would like to. And that includes that beautiful baby, Courtney, to share as well. And then the last one I have is, and I have this in the negative because I don't know how to put it in a positive way. It says, don't judge each other. We really want to make sure that we aren't trying to pass our own thoughts and judgment on each other. I like to think of the example of nursing. Some people feel very strongly that I only nursed my baby until they were 3 months old and then I stopped. And some people feel very strongly that I nursed for 2 full years and it was a part of our, every day. Neither one of those things are wrong. They're just different choices. So we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with people might have differences of opinions, and that's okay, as long as everyone's safe and there's nothing wrong with it. Karen, did you want to add anything to that? Was there anything that we missed on that little thought process?
No, I like that. And I, just to kind of throw in there that whole idea too, I usually say this when I'm meeting people face to face, so it's different virtually, but I always say, I'm a mandated reporter. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, be careful what you share. And I don't mean that. I'm not trying to say, we're here to help. And so, but I've heard some stories. So let me just say that, Christine and I both are in the position of sometimes we have to pull a parent aside and say, I'm sorry to tell you, but I have to make a report. I don't see that happening here virtually. No. I don't think it's the same kind of environment, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. I see we had someone join us, Lanny. If you can give me a pronunciation on that. Oh, it's Christina. Yay.
It's Christina. Yeah, I was trying to join on my cell phone and see if that was better.
Super. Oh, so Christina, can you give us your ages of your children and anything in particular that you want to learn here?
Sure. So I have 2 daughters. One is 4 years old. Her name's actually Leilani, which is why my Zoom was today. And I actually have my other daughter will be 2 months next week. And I guess I just want to get more information and pick up more tools just like everyone else, especially with like all the changes going on in the world and in our lives. So
right. The good thing about this is, thank you for sharing that, Christina. The good thing about this is that we are going to talk a lot about like COVID specific, but it's not all going to be that. And everything that we are going to go through, we're going to be able to use at different times and in different ways. So, Karen and I always say we still use this with our own kids and sometimes spouses. So, okay. So before we get started, it's really important to remember that this group is for you, and we want to make it what you need it to be. So your questions are imperative, and you're keeping us on where you want it to go is very important. I do want to say that living with young children can create a huge mixture of feelings, from the best, most joyous moments that you have to very frustrating and exhausting moments. We all know that, and we've all been there, I think it is fair to say. So I like to start with this little picture of this expectation, which I love this couple in the scene that are under expectation, like they're both working together and the baby's just, fine and beautiful and not crying. And then when you actually look at the reality of it, and that sometimes things happen. And I love that little picture of that poor little guy or girl that's just, completely melting down. And I just, want to make sure that we all understand that parenting is not easy. And as Karen said earlier, unfortunately, we don't have a magic wand. But this Positive Solutions for Families series really provides some evidence-based strategies. So strategies that have been shown to work. There's data to prove that. So, many parents of young children have been able to kind of, as I said earlier, maybe not eliminate challenging behavior, but maybe lessen it a little bit, which is what we really want to see, and increase those behaviors that we do want to see. So we're going to begin to talk, by talking about how to nurture your relationship with your child. Karen's going to go over with that in a minute. In some of the other group sessions, we will talk about strategies a little bit more that get a little bit more in depth, and we'll learn a little bit more about interaction and behavior. So let's go ahead and get started. And then Karen, if you want to take it away.
So to start with, as an adult, the best place to start is really to think of yourself and your own situation growing up. What did you have? Your relationship with the adults when you were young, the relationship that you had with adults in your life are really, really important, because they kind of form what you are now as an adult, because that's just how we work as people. So this first activity really is about stopping for a moment and thinking about someone in your life who is special to you, who you thought not only that was special to you, but they thought you were the best thing in the world. And so thinking back to your early years, and when I say early, I usually say between 0 and 18. So it can be like, I've heard people say, my high school math teacher made me feel like I was just it. Like I just knew I was a whiz at math, and they made me really realize how important that was. Some people talk about a grandparent, someone, in their life that they just really felt like they had a close relationship with. Some people talk about their next door neighbor that they would, go over and visit. So there's a lot of different things I've heard, but it really starts with thinking about the relationships that you had as a child that then you were able to carry over into how relationships can or should be. So think back to when you were young, and who was that person that really was the person. And then think about what made you think of that person. Why them? What was it that they did or didn't do that was really important? And then, and what made them important or special to you? So take just a minute or two. Most people can have somebody that pops up in their head. Most people, when I do this activity, can typically just kind of right away go to someone that they remember. But take a minute or two and think of these questions. And maybe if you have your workbook out in front of you, jot it down. If you don't, you don't have to. But it's a nice thing to do. So we're going to we're starting with just thinking about relationships in general. And then as we start to move forward from here, there's no pressure to anyone that they have to share. But if anyone would like to share, we'd love to hear who that person was and what you could share about the relationship with us.
You said it could be from when we were 18 or younger.
Yeah, typically we look at those young years.
I don't have anyone young, but when I was like 15, I thought of this um, this youth pastor that I met, who I'm still friends with, and ended up officiating our wedding. And I think it was like the first time I had a relationship with an adult where I was like an equal. I don't feel like I really had that with my parents. And so just feeling like I was treated with like this like adult respect, I guess, which is kind of like children, you know, they want to be treated as
With respect and yeah.
whole people and with respect and things like that. So
Yeah.
kind of relates.
And what made you think of him? Just, it was that level of respect that really made that the important piece.
Sorry,
That's the piece that you feel like what made them important to you too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
I think for me it would be this I guess neighbor. I was like about 14, 15. And I don't have a real close relationship with my mother growing up. So she kind of like, filled that void. I was able to just like talk to her and she, kind of gave me different advice as far as like, this is what a man should do as he gets older and, it's kind of stuff like that. So it's kind of like, I looked at her as being, that special person.
That's awesome. I love hearing when they're neighbors because I always feel like they don't have any responsibility for you at all, yet they step in.
Right. And then she was like kind of close to the family anyway, because she was kind of more so my brother age. I'm like the youngest boy of like 7. So she was kind of close to my older brother's age. So she was kind of like already had like new other family and stuff. So that kind of made it a little bit better.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'll jump in right there too. I'm the youngest of 7 as well. So I had an uncle who he was the youngest in his family, and he was more like a brother's age for me. Like he was significantly older than me, but he was more like a brother. And he just would always make the time to say hello to me. Like he would be like, "How's school, Cressy? What's going?" He spoke to me when nobody talked to me. And so I feel like that it's funny that when you're the youngest, I think sometimes that happens where you're just like brought along. And that's my quick memory I thought I'd share.
Thank you. Anyone else?
This is Reedy. I just wanted to share, I really don't have anybody like in particular, other than I keep thinking of my dad. I know he's like somebody that I grew up with and stayed with, but we still had a good relationship. I remember there were times when, he would want us to go walk with him because he had things to do. This is when we lived in New York. And I'd be the only one that's like, okay, let's go take a walk, And I don't know, it's just like different things. And it was just easy to approach him. And there was a lot of things that I've learned. So
That's awesome. Yeah, it is. It's that connection. Sometimes it's just the person who you spend time with, So even if it's just going for a walk, it's just the idea that there's the time that you spend together, and that makes a huge difference. And so thinking about some of these experiences that we're talking about, we really think about the idea that, and I love this quote, and I feel like I always, whenever I hear this quote again, it kind of almost brings tears to my eyes, because I look at it and I think, like, every child needs this. Every child needs one person who's just crazy about them. And how do we make sure that our kids have that? What power do we have as parents to make sure that our kids get that? And believe it or not, we have a lot of power. And so I know for me, it was my goal all along for my kids was always that I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be that person that they can always look to and say, that's the person that became the one that I turned to for anything. And it's interesting because like Christine was saying, my kids are grown now too. And, but my kids always know that when it comes to anything personal or social or emotional, any of those mental, anything like that, they come to mom. Anything that has to do with work, with school, with anything that they were doing, they always went to dad. So they kind of knew who was their person for what thing, which to me was a cool thing to have. But it's just kind of amazing to think about that if everyone has this, if every kid gets this, it really makes a difference in who they are growing up. So you start young, start really young. So all of you who have these little kids, good idea to be here now. Because the things that you'll learn here, you'll take with you. This doesn't go away, this continues on. So when we think about, and Reedy, this kind of piggybacks off of what you said. So the idea that, spending quality time with your kids, what are the benefits of that? And then what are the barriers? Right now in a time of COVID, this is even harder because we are spending a lot of time with our kids, right? We're all trapped in our houses with them, whether we like it or not. So the question then becomes, how do you create in the time that you have? How do you create quality time with them? And why would you want to? So when we think about the benefits of the quality time, I mean, for me, it's an opportunity right now to have some time where you really do spend time together, bonding, doing fun things together. Even if it's not something that, you sitting down on the couch and popping popcorn and watching a movie is quality time. You're together, It's the idea that you want to spend that time and build that relationship. So we start there. We start with these little pieces of spending time, and there are a lot of benefits. Kids get a lot from that. So recognize that children need you. Barriers, obviously, like I said, is probably going back to a barrier to spending quality time with your kids. I mean, honestly, time. As much as we're all together, still, you have things you got to do. The laundry still needs to get done. The grocery shopping still needs to get done. Dinner still needs to get made. So we start to run out of time. I think when we think of other pieces that make it difficult, it's, everyone's under a lot of stress right now. This is really, really hard on making these adjustments for a lot of people. So if we think about the stress that we're under as adults, trying to stop and think that now I need to spend time with my kid, like sometimes that's like the last thing you want to do. I think right now too, what I'm hearing from a lot of parents is that siblings spending this much time together, trapped in a house together, it's even harder. So those of you that have more than one kiddo, God bless you, because I think this is just really hard. It's really hard when they're all on top of each other and bugging each other, and you're spending time as the adult just breaking up fights. I think another piece too is right now, again too, with thinking about, some families are struggling with childcare issues because parents still got to go to work, or at least have time that they can have to go to work. So there are barriers that are here that are going to be difficult to get through. And if you think, I guess for yourself, like what are those things that you think could be a benefit for your own child, and what are the things that you think would be a barrier? So again, it's just, to me, that's just something that I want you to keep in mind as we move forward. Go ahead and do the next one. So I like this this idea. There's like, if you notice up in the upper right hand side here, it's like a little tank. It's supposed to be like a gas tank. And we can think of it as a gas tank. Sometimes I like to think of this, I like to use the metaphor of like a piggy bank, but whatever metaphor you want to use. But it's the idea that we want to spend this quality time with kids, and we need to invest time in that. So what I'm talking about are things like the time that you spend is like putting pennies in a penny bank. and you're putting pennies in your penny bank over and over. Every time you're spending your time in good quality relationship building things with your kids, you're putting pennies in a penny bank. And all of a sudden one day you need some pennies out of that penny bank. There's something there that you can draw from. There's something that's already there that you can pull out of. If you've never invested that in that penny bank and then you try to pull out from it, there's nothing there to get. So the idea that kids, even very young kids, and I'm talking about even those, 2-month-old is a little bit on the young side, but 11 months, you can do this at 11 months. It's really about that time on the floor. It's that time that you're spending. The more that you do that, the more they're able to leave you alone when you need to be left alone, because they've got something to pull from and you've got something to take out of their bank. So kind of think in your own head, how am I going to be able to do this? How am I going to be able to put in those pennies into the penny bank? What am I going to be able to do to make that happen? And that's what we're going to talk more about, ideas on how to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to really kind of give you some tools to be able to fill that penny bank, and so that hopefully when you're able to do that, when you have to pull from that, you're able to. And when Karen talks about pulling from that piggy bank, it's things like when you're stuck at a long line in Meijer and you have to wait, you're 6 feet behind people now, and and everything takes twice as long. That's when you can hopefully rely on that extra little bit in their piggy bank. One of the ways we're going to talk about today, and then we're going to go really in depth with it next week. And it's really about the power of play. And it's talking about following your child's lead in play. So it's not your play, it's their play that you're joining in with. And we'll explain a little bit more about that. But if you can arrange somehow to give each one of your children 10 minutes of uninterrupted play individually, you will be, I'm not kidding when I say you will be amazed at the results. If you can set aside some time, 10 minutes a day with each child, you might be really, really surprised. And the second one here I have is leave work at work. I know that's almost impossible to do right now, but because our work is home in a lot of cases. So I still want you to kind of think about that, so that if you're doing 10 minutes of uninterrupted play with your child, you're putting your phone away, and you're not responding to an email in that time. This is really in depth. I'm going to show you a video in a minute that kind of goes over it, and it's a little bit silly and a little bit like a little ridiculous, but it's kind of funny to watch. Hopefully you'll be able to watch it and it will go off without a hitch. There's a chance I might freeze up, and if I exit and come back, that's why. But this is kind of really about that piece about working with your child and doing their play. By the way, a child's play or anyone's play is never an organized sport. So soccer practice is not play. I know that seems like against our mindsets, because we think you played all day. You had soccer practice, you had ballet. Why would we need to play with you? I know COVID's not really like that right now where you're doing that, but any of that kind of stuff, that is not child-directed play. That's scheduled time that, even if it's stuff they like to do, it's not play. And that's might be shocking for some of you. Sometimes people are like, what are you talking about when I say that? But it's true. So now we get to watch this silly guy talk about play.
Every day I try to spend some really quality time with Jenny. Talking and sharing. Time that we can relax and just really enjoy each other's company. And make a special effort so that it's really Jenny time. She always decides what we play. I'm basically just along for the ride. Although I do have to help her out sometimes, just to get things started. And who's this?
She's a beautiful princess.
A princess? Wow. That means she's in charge, huh? Of the whole fairy nation. The buck stops here. She's the one we all want to bow down to and try to make happy. Sort of like a CEO. That's it. She's like a fairyland CEO. She'll probably need a classic functional organizational structure where each portion of the organization is grouped according to its purpose, which means she'll need a strong financial officer, or maybe even a creative director. And let's not forget about operations, huh? Somebody needs to keep the wheels of Fairyland turning. And who is this? This gives us a chance to just be Dad and Jenny. And she's so creative. You just never know what's gonna come out of her mouth.
He's from HR.
That's right, Jenny. He's head of HR, Human Resources for Fairyland. And how do we know this? No briefcase. Folks from HR are so busy putting out fires, they rarely carry a briefcase. Unless it's a board meeting or some client consultation, which I don't think is the case here. So, Jenny always used to be excited when I played dolls with her. I don't know what happened. Is there anything I can do to get her excited about playtime again?
One of the most important components of playing effectively with your child is letting your child take the lead in terms of determining what they're interested in, what they want to do, what is fun for them, and not trying to structure the play or direct the play too much.
Play is the work of children. That's how they're learning and that's how they're developing. So play is extremely important. And interactive play is most important. And the best way to encourage play is to participate in that play.
I could tell Jenny wasn't enjoying our playtime like she used to. And I just wanted us to get back to having fun together again. So now I let her lead playtime. And I use those opportunities to be supportive and positive. Great job putting your toys away, Jenny. What do you want to do now?
So if there's a behavior that you want to encourage, you want your child to sit quietly, for example, then when they're sitting quietly, I like how you're sitting quietly. I like how you're doing, keeping your hands to yourself, whatever the activity is. You need to be specific in your praise or else it kind of gets, they don't really know what they did well. Good job or like that, and they don't really know what you're talking about, as opposed to being very specific about your praise.
Look at that. I love the way you get into her arm there.
As long as kids are playing in a healthy way, then we really want to let them explore their own world. It's okay to color outside the line. It's okay to put the Lego pieces in the wrong spots.
Ultimately, you're learning a lot about your child, and your child is learning that you are engaged and want to participate in the things that they like.
I'm so happy I've learned this parenting tip. It's like Jenny and I have a whole new relationship. And I've also discovered that I can sometimes be a little overbearing, but I've learned my lesson. From now on, I'm all about separating work from home. She's the focus. Also, I've realized I should probably leave all the make-believe stuff up to her, too. Absolutely.
Mr. Wilson, will you please come to my office?
Yes, Princess CEO?
I'm very impressed with the new organizational structure you brought to Fairyland.
Oh, just doing my job, ma'am.
Well, it was so good that I'm going to make you into a knight.
Thank you so much. Say,
Before you were a princess, were you in HR?
I noticed you weren't carrying a briefcase.
So I know that's kind of silly, but it just gives you a little example, and it kind of goes through a lot of what we're going to go over. It goes over those praise pieces. We're going to go over that in a couple of weeks, and a whole bunch of different stuff. It's a whole bunch of stuff in a nutshell. So we just like to share that with you a little bit.
So now we're going to do the next activity in your workbook. So number 2, you want to pull that up. And I want you to start thinking now of some of the things that you can start off with. What are you going to do with your child? How are you going to make this work? Some families, some parents like to have a very structured time. Like at this time every day is when I'm going to spend my 10 minutes with my kiddo. Some parents, mix it up. It's kind of up to you and what fits with your work, your lives at home right now. But I want you to think about what are the kinds of things that your kids like to do, not that you like to do. So if the idea is we're going to sit and watch a movie, you're not going to watch the movie that you want to watch. You're going to watch the movie they want to watch, right? So if you want to do things, the idea is, and if you notice that dad on that movie, on that video was, he was playing Barbies with his daughter. If you're a dad and you've got little girls, you might have to play Barbies. If you're a mom, it might be that you're playing superheroes or I always say Ninja Turtles or whatever, because that's kind of how old I am. So it's just the idea of figuring out what your kid likes to do. And if they're old enough, I always say ask your kid. Even 2-year-olds will tell you what they want to do. So get ideas from them. But in the meantime, I really think it's a good place to start is thinking about what are you going to be able to do every day for the next week. 10 minutes. We're not talking about, parents seem to think in their minds sometimes that it takes hours to do this, and it really doesn't. If you can just give your child individualized attention for 10 minutes, you're in the right space. So when you're doing this, I want you to keep in mind that you are going to need to use kind of these structured pieces to keep in mind. So these are the tips to keep while you're having this 10 minutes with your kids, and any other time too, ideally. But when you want to give encouragement to your child and you want to see behavior again, that's the good stuff, you need to pay attention to it. So first of all, you need to make sure that they're paying attention to you. So making sure that you have some eye contact, maybe you even just touch them on the shoulder, but making sure that you have their attention. You want to use very specific language, kind of how they did. And when you think about the specific language, it has to be what it is that you're seeing. So, hey, thank you so much for sitting quietly while I'm on this phone call. Sounds silly, but that's important. You want to keep it very simple and do not criticize in that time, because when you say you did this well, but this, then you've just negated everything ahead of it. So you got to really stick with words that are meaningful and stick. And then you want to have some enthusiasm with it. I mean, if you're just spouting the words, it's not really going to have the same effect. And you can always, I always say physical touch is important, hugs, cuddles, whatever you do at your house, and making sure that you're doing it in front of other kids. So even saying it, it's not, when you're saying it, other kids, other adults, other people, kids like to have that kind of idea that, hey, mom noticed that I did this, and so heard that I was like that too. So oftentimes when kids are in school, I say, if you can do it in front of their teacher, even better. Mm-hmm. So thinking about these next pieces, so we know that we have to be encouraging as much as we possibly can. So here's the idea. If you look at number 3 in your workbook, you're going to have an encouragement log. So you're going to be able to kind of keep track of ways that you encouraged your child through positive comments. And then think about what led you to even say that or did that. So really thinking about taking some notes this week, taking some notes so you can remind yourself, hey, I did that really well, that worked out well, or hey, you know what, I said that, it didn't have the impact that I wanted it to. Keep in mind also too that when you do these, literally, you have to do them every day. And new habits are not built all at once. New habits, it takes 21 days of constant to build a new habit. So if you're doing this for 21 days in a row, likely it will continue.
I wanted to keep trying to keep up with the time as best I can. We just have a couple minutes, so I'm going to try and go through these slides really quickly. These are ways to give your child encouragement, and they're very specific is what you want to do here. So it's not just thank you. It's thank you for sitting down at dinner. When I asked you to come to dinner, the first time I asked, you came and sat at the table. Thank you for that. The last one here is thank you for using your inside voice when your sister was sleeping. It's very, very specific. I love it's so much fun to play with you. You are so good at sharing your trucks. You are so good at taking turns. Because when you just say to a child, it's, if you just say good job, they have no idea what they did well. It could have been the fit they threw on the way to the dinner table. They don't know what it is. So specific is your friend here. And all of that we're talking about, there are going to be times that you're going to feel silly, and that's okay. I do want to share with you our Great Start Oakland website as a resource. We will give you some more information about this in the future, but Great Start Oakland, if we had time, I'd dig into it a little bit, but we really don't. So I'm hopeful that you'll be able to get a chance to see greatstartoakland.org. It's got some great help there just on the site itself. You can text, live chat, or call and talk to a real live person. Someone will talk to you back. They will call you back, or they will text you back. It's actual people. And we're there for whatever is needed, including an Ask Karen section. If you have really specific things that you need help on, you can send Karen a Dear Abby note, and she'll help you out with that. And we just about made it. Karen, you want to do our last slide?
Yep. So here's your pieces that you have to work on this week. And again, this seems like you're probably looking at this going, seriously, that's what this whole session is about.
It's true.
This is where we start. So this is not what this is all about. This is where we begin, and then we go from here. Because again, we got to start with building the positives. We got to start with the good stuff. You will not get your kids to behave the way that you want them to behave if you don't start here. So I'm just letting you know that. And if you think I'm already doing all of this, you might be, but I want you to start keeping track of it, because I want you to really look at yourself and make sure that you are doing it every single day, right? Every single day you're going to do these pieces. So between now and next week, keep a log. And then next week, we'll kind of pick up with doing a little bit of review to begin, and then we'll dig deeper into some of these pieces and talk about what happens when this doesn't work. What happens when this isn't getting us to where we want to go yet.
Right.
It's going to take a little while, but we'll get there.
And for those of you with 2 and 3 kids, this is really a separated time. And I've often had parents ask me, can I have the other child join in? That's okay, as long as you check with the child whose time it is. As long as you check with your 4-year-old that it's okay that the 6-year-old joins in. That's okay. But and I do feel like I mean, if you have 6 kids, it's a lot. But if you have anything less than 6 kids, it's really, for 3 kids, it's a half hour of your time. And you'll be surprised. I know you're probably thinking we're crazy, but we're not. Well, we are a little bit, but not about this.
Not about this. We've been doing this a long time, and like we said, we're both parents, and we've kind of figured out and we've learned from our mistakes, and we'll share them with you along the way. But we definitely want you to help think about the successes, and we will share with you our successes too. So that's it for today.
Yep.
All
I'm
right.
going to stop our recording.